Deep within the harsh wilderness of Tsavo, hundreds of railway workers once labored beneath unbearable heat and endless danger. But as night fell across the camp, something far more terrifying emerged from the darkness. Workers began disappearing, tents were torn open, screams echoed beneath the moonlight, and according to survivors, the creatures responsible did not behave like ordinary lions. They hunted patiently, fearlessly, almost intelligently. This is the terrifying true story of the Tsavo Man-Eaters. In 1898, the British Empire began constructing the Kenya-Uganda Railway, a massive railway project stretching through dangerous and untamed land. Thousands of workers were brought into Tsavo to help build bridges and railway tracks across the wilderness. The environment itself was already brutal. Extreme heat during the day, thick wilderness, disease, dangerous terrain, and isolation far from major settlements. Yet despite all these hardships, something far worse waited in the darkness beyond the campfires. At first, workers noticed small disturbances during the night, strange sounds beyond the tents, movement within the tall grass, but nobody fully understood what was watching them from the shadows. Then the disappearances began. Quietly at first, one worker gone, then another. Some vanished without a trace. Others left behind horrifying scenes of torn tents and blood-stained ground. Fear spread rapidly through the railway camp. Workers became terrified of sleeping at night. Fires were kept burning. Guards remained awake. Yet somehow, the attacks continued. Eventually, survivors realized the truth. Two enormous male lions had begun hunting the workers. But these lions behaved differently from ordinary predators. They showed almost no fear of humans. They entered camps directly, dragged victims from tents, and disappeared back into darkness before anyone could stop them. Panic slowly consumed the railway workers. Many believed the lions were supernatural creatures. Others claimed they were cursed spirits protecting the land from foreign construction. Every night became a nightmare. Workers struggled to sleep. Some climbed trees during darkness. Others built thorn barriers around the camp in desperate attempts to survive. Yet the lions continued attacking. Always patient, always silent. Survivors described hearing screams suddenly erupt during the night, followed by silence. Then only the distant sound of movement disappearing into the wilderness. Fear grew so intense that some workers refused to continue building the railway at all. The project itself nearly collapsed beneath terror. As the attacks increased, stories about the lions spread far beyond Tsavo. Some reports claimed dozens of workers had already been killed. Others believed the number was even higher. The lions became legendary, not simply because they hunted humans, but because of how fearless they seemed. They ignored fires, ignored noise, ignored human presence, almost as though they understood fear itself had already weakened the camp. Their intelligence made them terrifying. They studied routines, waited patiently, and struck when people least expected it. In the darkness of Tsavo, the workers no longer felt like hunters. They felt hunted. Eventually, a British officer named Colonel John Henry Patterson took responsibility for killing the lions. Determined to stop the attacks, he began tracking the predators across the wilderness. Night after night, Patterson waited in darkness beside bait and traps. But the lions proved incredibly difficult to kill. Sometimes they approached silently before disappearing again. Other times, they completely avoided traps altogether. The hunt became psychological, a deadly contest between man and predator. And meanwhile, workers continued dying. After months of terror, Patterson finally managed to shoot one of the lions. But even wounded, the animal reportedly continued fighting aggressively before finally collapsing. The second lion survived longer, continuing to haunt the region before eventually being killed as well. At last, the nightmare ended, the railway project continued, and silence slowly returned to the camps of Tsavo. But the story of the man-eaters never disappeared. Even today, the Tsavo Man-Eaters remain one of the most terrifying animal attack stories in history. Their preserved bodies still exist in museums, silent reminders of a time when fear ruled the wilderness of Tsavo. And although experts continue debating why the lions targeted humans, the mystery still fascinates people more than a century later. Perhaps it is because the story reminds us of something ancient, that deep within nature, humanity is not always the hunter. Sometimes, in the darkness, we become the hunted. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing for more mysterious and atmospheric narrations.